What is up, YouTube? So I'm going to do the unboxing video later tonight, but because of a big breaking news story, I'm going to do this video because I got some thoughts on this news story. So yeah, here we go. So as many of y'all heard, Kyle Kashuv was exposed as being a racist. This should not have come as a surprise to nobody. You should have seen his Twitter timeline. This is the same guy that spouted Zionist propaganda 24/7 on his timeline. Okay, and he was part of Turning Point USA. What do you expect? And so honestly, I'm not surprised. I looked at the dude's timeline. Man, it was despicable, man. It was, yeah. He doesn't deserve to go to. He doesn't deserve anything good. He needs to learn his lesson. There was racist comment after racist comment, Zionist conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory on his Twitter. So I'm urging you to do what I did and report and block the guy. You know, so just type in on the search bar on Twitter, Kyle Kashuv Palestine, and then you'll see what I'm talking about. And you might see my comment, my response to him on there. So, yeah, and that brings me to my next point. All these spoiled kids from Florida, man, their view is too narrow. It's good that they're trying to address violence, that they're trying to address gun violence in America. That is good, but their view is too narrow. They're not tying what's going on in Florida or Colorado or wherever to what is going on overseas in places like Palestine, in places like Syria, Sudan, Somalia, Egypt, Tunisia, or what went on in Albania or Bosnia, or what's going on in Iraq, Afghanistan, in Yemen, and places like that. They're not tying it to the global picture. And that's the main issue I have with them. And also the fact that they've endorsed Zionist candidates such as Liz Warren, Bernie Sanders, people of that nature. And, you know, the fact that David Hogg is going to Harvard, a very Zionist institution that, you know, regularly has genocidal professors and speakers that hold genocidal views. I'm really not surprised. And the fact that Harvard was founded on Masonry too, and founded, you know, by Protestant Zionists. I'm not surprised that, you know, people like David Hogg promote that kind of agenda, and that people like Emma Gonzalez has remained silent on it. And it took Harvard this long to refuse the admission of Kyle Kashuv when the dude had a long record of racism, especially against the Arab community. That shows you how racist toward Arabs Harvard is. And I made videos before talking about what it was like being an Arab American in academia, and why I dropped out of college. But, you know, it took Harvard this long to take steps against a virulent anti-Arab and anti-black racist Zionist who spouted genocidal conspiracy theories on his Twitter page. So that's saying something about Harvard. And the fact that they took Democratic stooge Mike Kikukawa, who I personally know, and the fact that he went there and then he worked for the Clintons, and then now he works for the DNC and directly reports to Tom Perez. That's also saying something. So that's just my thoughts on that. I generally try to ignore the mainstream media hype, but I do want to call out the hypocrisy from the Parkland Five about their silence on foreign policy, their silence about what's going on in Palestine, what's going on in Egypt, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, Yemen, and Iraq, and Tunisia and Algeria, and what went on in Albania and Bosnia. And the fact that in all of those places, it was US manufactured weapons that were being used by CIA funded groups to murder innocent people. And the fact that the CIA and the US, NATO, and the Zionists and the Turks and the Brits and the French and the Australians and Canadians and Germans and Norwegians were all committing war crimes there. And these people claim to be opposed, they claim to be against gun violence, but they're turning a blind eye to gun violence against people predominantly minority, who would be considered minorities in the United States, and many of whom are Muslim outside the United States. And that's where the hypocrisy is. That's where I have an issue with them. And honestly, they're just liberal stooges of the mainstream media that prop up Zionist candidates and imperialist candidates, and that's why we can't be trusting them at all. And that's why we need to challenge the narrative on what they're doing and what they represent. So yeah, and the fact that they can't tie what's going on in Asia, Africa, and the Balkans to what's happening in America speaks volumes about them. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. Hope y'all tune in for the unboxing video. And that's all for right now. I'm headed to dinner, and then I'm headed to the masjid for Isha. So yeah, peace.